Though we've talked about 5 separate ligamental structures during the lecture, we're only working on 2. Why? The anterior and posterior longitudinal ligaments are far too deep for us to lay hands on. So through the stretching, and especially as the client goes deeper into the stretch, is where these ligaments will get stretched and break up any scar tissue and adhesions that may have formed because of the injury. The interspinous ligaments are continuous with the nuchal ligaments in this area, so as we work one, we'll work the other. And speaking of the nuchal and interspinous ligaments, in working them, we're going to start with the client supine and comfortably resting on the table. Cradle the head with the hands. We're going to find the space in between each spinae process with a finger or a thumb of the other, and we're going to press in. In order to do this, the client's head has to be in neutral position, not in an extended position. Once we find that space, and I usually start just above C7. But once we find that space, we're going to bring the neck into flexion, holding static pressure between the processes. You'll feel the vertebrae separate naturally, and from this point, you'll work your way all the way up to the base of the skull. If you need to, take several passes from this position. But like the stretching, we want to move the head in an ellipse and not pushing the chin directly into the chest. Good. I'll move up to the next. There it is. The hand gets tired, or the fingers get tired. You can easily switch hands from this position, find the space, and move. Good. Moving up to the next. Good. Just like so. Now, if you find yourself falling just laterally to the spinae process, don't fret. We just want to press inwards towards the spinae process, and you'll be working the interspinous muscles as well. Working the intertransverse ligaments. We're going to start with the client supine and comfortably resting on the table. We're going to cradle the head with one hand and find the space in between each transverse process with the other. I find it a little easier to use my thumb. There we go. And like with the spinae process, we're going to press in. But instead of flexing, we're going to laterally flex. There it is. There we go. You may or may not be able to feel each one of the transverse processes depending on how loose you are able to get all of the muscular structures that lie superficial to it. And that's a lot of muscle, and some of them don't want to give up. So there's a couple of things to be aware of with this. One, if the range of motion is decreased, you may not be able to feel them at all. Okay. Two, it's really easy to overwork both the interspinous ligaments and the intertransverse ligaments. They're small structures, but they're also intimately attached to the muscular structures as well. For the intertransverse ligaments, you're looking at the intertransversarii muscles. So you're working both structures at the same time. So don't overwork them, and don't force your way into the spine. If you can feel them, great. If not, rely on the stretching to do that work, at least in the beginning.